Can we be done talking about marketing at this point?
Oh, no, no, no. I have so much more to say about this.
I'm gonna. All right. Welcome back. We are down to our last 2 weeks here, Jay. So we are on episode 5 or week 5 of the Elite Growth Accelerator here. It's been a fun journey thus far. 4 weeks down, 2 to go. We are on what you measure matters and improves, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of wild to think about that only 2 weeks left here, but we've covered a lot of ground thus far, and just a little bit left here to go, and we're going to be off and running in 2026. So exciting stuff here, and I'm great to have you on the journey with me here. Here.
Yeah. Yeah. This has been fun.
Absolutely. So without further ado, we'll dive right in and go over kind of a recap of what we covered last week and then jump into what we got to get covered this week. So taking a look back at what we covered last week, and I think we've mentioned this at the start of every episode here in our mini series. If you haven't had a chance to catch up on last week or the weeks before, these all continue to build on top of each other, and it is important to watch them in that order. So if you got a chance to pause this one and go back and watch the last one, I would recommend doing that. So there's some really good information in there. I would argue the best information, Jay, it's an episode that's strictly about sales. You could probably skip episode 3. That was all about
Yeah.
marketing, right?
Yeah. 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 I'd skip episode
Mm.
sales.
Yeah, yeah. So what we covered last week, just for everybody's recap there. So we covered your sales leadership team and getting them prepped, right? So they have a plan in place. They understand what your plan is. They're prepared to execute that plan as well, too, with the understanding of what their KPIs are and what they must manage. They understand the seasonality of your business, right? They understand what their hiring strategies need to be, when they're going to be hiring, when they're going to be training their new reps that they're going to need to anticipate that increase of lead flow that Jay and the marketing side of the business are going to be pushing their way. They're teaching their sales reps how to run their business within the business, which is a huge thing. They're helping them set those goals and put in place the steps that are necessary to reach those goals as well too. And then again, it wouldn't be a show without us talking about financing. They've started to lay the foundation for that becoming really well ingrained and integrated into the culture of the business itself. So kind of summarize it into those key principles like we do each week. Your team is a very powerful weapon when they know their numbers, set very clear goals, and have a very clear roadmap to what success looks like. When you got those things in place, there's really no stopping them. That's for sure. So, Jay, what's today's focus?
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what we measure. And these are the metrics that matter most. They're going to be the day to day, the week to week, the month to month stuff that we just don't lose sight of. We're also going to talk about what we measure daily, weekly, monthly cadence for that. And then how we coach to this. This is a big part that a lot of companies lose sight of is the importance to keep that conversation going about what we're measuring and what we're working towards. So we'll talk about one-on-ones, meetings, check-ins, stuff like that.
Beautiful. So, you built the plan, prepared the team. Now it's time to track, measure, and coach and start building that culture of continuous improvement, right? We've talked about that in the last couple episodes here too. So it's the one we're all trying to build and become part of. So how can you prepare people to win and how often here, Jay?
Yeah, I think that we can easily forget that everyone needs to be encouraged. And especially in leadership, you can encourage yourself and you forget that you're also in charge of encouraging them. It is challenging. It is discouraging at times. There's days or weeks where your marketing's way off base and you're solving a problem or sales isn't in the tank. You don't know why. It is important to set up daily. Let's talk about what winning looks like today. What does it look
Mhm.
like today? Let's see if we can get some new creative out there that's going to engage with people today. That's the goal. And then let's
Mhm.
talk about how did the week finish? And then obviously, what does it look like to win by the end of the month? So definitely set up those times.
Yeah, I think that roadmap that we laid out of 12 months being broken down is really critical for the entire business. It's critical for you as an owner and a leader to see it in those bite-sized chunks. When we set out those big BHAGs, so like that's a term that I think a lot of people have heard out there. What is it? Big, hairy, audacious goals, right? They are also daunting when you think about the length of time, right? And the fact that I want to go from 3 million to 5 million, $2 million, a big number, right? I would love to see it all in one place at one time in my life. That'd be pretty cool.
Mm.
If I have a bad day today, that doesn't mean I've lost the war, so to speak. So how do we set our team up to understand how to win a lot of little battles along the way? And those daily goals and daily successes are really important. So I think it's a really good point, Jay. I love what you say. What does winning look like? You say that on a regular basis. I know you preach that around the halls there at Powerful. I think that when your people know what that looks like day to day, week to week, month to month, they feel the progress that's being made towards those goals. So that's huge, right? And when we can show them what winning looks like and how often they can actually win within that bigger win, success feels contagious in a way. And that's really what we're trying to develop there. So I think one of the keys there, though, too, is how do we communicate it with them, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that a lot of us struggle with that transfer of knowledge. So, yeah, how do we share? How do we share this with them?
I think that we're going to go over some scoreboards and leaderboards and those kinds of things, but I'm going to pause before we get into that because I think that there's at times a negative connotation around putting it out in front of everybody in the organization because not everybody is being successful all of the time, right? There are people that are very, very successful. There are people that are doing okay. And then there are those that are not so okay at certain points in time. And that moves up and down. People move up and down those boards constantly. And what I think a lot of people feel, and it's a good thing, they have this concern. They don't want to publicly shame people by putting those numbers out. If you're building the right culture and you're building the right organization, the individuals within those teams on those leaderboards, although they might not be thrilled with the number at the time, it's not a discouragement. It is actually, in reality, it is encouraging to go, there are people that are being successful at this moment in time that I'm not. That means that there is success to be had out there. And I just have to find a way to capture whatever it is that they're doing. I see at the bottom of the board, Jay's at the top of the board. Awesome. I'm going to go seek out Jay, find out what he's doing differently than what I'm doing. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing to create in your organization. And the more you can do that by putting those numbers out in front of them, whether it's on dashboards, whiteboards, posted in your rooms, whatever it is, I think that that's a really, really powerful thing. And it shouldn't be looked at as public shaming in any kind of way. It is what it is. The numbers you put up are yours and you need to own them. And if you want to be
Yep.
better, there are ways to do that, right? Again, you got to wear the bull between the horns or whatever phrase you want to use. You got to put them out there. So post them anywhere and often that people are going to see them on a regular basis for sure.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a really important issue that the leadership team should have already developed is some aspect of mission, vision, values that includes something like excellence or community focused or continuous growth or some phrase like that that then is said over and over again because that sets the stage for, hey, we're transparent about where everybody is because our focus is on excellence or our focus is on, choose the value that you want that fits your organization. But yeah, 100% get it out there.
Yeah. So I think you put it out there, you show it to them on a regular basis. Again, if we've established the right standards as far as who we are, what we expect, and what we expect when things aren't going right, both from the players on the team and the coaches, right? We're going to help support you. But we've told them what the standards are. We've communicated one time. That's enough, right, Jay?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you have to tell them twice, they didn't listen the first time. I mean, get rid of them. Terrible hire.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? Everybody's got a million things going on, and even though they're all adults, and I used to say, "Look, I have 2 really high expectations of everybody. You're an adult and you're a professional, and I expect you to act accordingly." The reality of it is even us adults need reminding on a
Mhm.
constant basis. Communication of this stuff has to happen constantly. If you stop talking about it, it doesn't matter. It's no longer an important thing to you. So the more you talk about it, the more it's important, the more it's part of your culture.
That is right.
So let's talk a little bit about what those scorecards look like by a department here. And we'll focus specifically today on the marketing department and the sales department, because I know those are our two wheelhouses here. So if there's a scorecard and a scoreboard for the overall team, your marketing manager is going to be responsible for the team number, but your individual should be invested in that number too. Like we're successful as a team or not. And then there's their individual contributions to that as well. So let's look at the marketing team scoreboard here. Jay, it's broken down daily, weekly, monthly as well too. And we're showing progress through these things. Kind of if we're walking through this, I see on here there's inquiries, appointments set, appointments issued, demo percentage, capacity. We've talked about some of these things in the past. Can you expand, I guess, a little bit on any of these in particular that you feel are important to make sure are out in front of everybody?
inquiries are good to get in front of the team so they can just see how many opportunities they have. I think that that goal for when you have these numbers all in front of you, you say, well, I know that if we set at this rate, the percentage of close from lead to appointment, how many inquiries do we need? So that's going to let that marketer go, I'm running short, or maybe the quality of these inquiries are really bad. And I've seen it before. There's 100 inquiries, but conversion
Yeah.
is now 5%. What the heck have we done? There should be a consistent, steady conversion point from those inquiries to appointment set.
Yeah. Now, as a marketing leader or marketing manager, if you're tracking this on a regular basis, and all of a sudden, let's say your inquiries jump up and you're doing a good job of coaching your reps and you're listening to calls and watching their communications online through the text chats or whatever, all of a sudden inquiries jump up and your conversion rate goes way down. What might that be an indicator for you if you're looking at that?
Yeah, it could be lack of interest. It could be misclicks. It could be spam. It could be stale content. You could find a lot of things that could point you in the direction of volume could go up. I know on Facebook, this is a little tip that we do with all of our customers is if you don't set your Facebook country up to United States only, then if you're a new dealer and you're starting out on Facebook and you go, we got 100 inquiries, they're all bad. Maybe you need to do some settings within your marketing
Mhm.
system to refine that. So, and on Facebook, pick America, you'll get rid of almost all of your spam pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah. The other thing could be too, maybe Jay, you're the manager and I'm the owner, and I told you I want you to try this new lead source and I forced you to do it. And you
Yeah.
come to me and go, I told you this lead source was not going to give
Yeah.
us any opportunities here. And it's presented us all of these type of tire kickers or what have you. And we're struggling to get them converted at an acceptable rate. Even though I can buy them very cheaply, I'm just buying names and phone numbers that don't go anywhere. So another interesting point to maybe have here or conversation to have here. When we look at marketers, right, or marketing reps, I know one of the things that Jay, you and I and the team at Powerful have been talking about is the mindset shift that sometimes needs to happen for them that they are not necessarily call center reps, but they are sales reps. And when you look at like inquiries, or some people refer to that as a lead, right? Lead to
Mhm.
appointment, that inquiry to appointment set, that's their close rate, right? So when you're looking at that, that's kind of one of the reasons or one of the ways that you can start to coach them to we're selling appointments, we're selling opportunities here. And this is really what winning looks like for you and how you know whether you're being successful using the training and the scripting and the methodology that we've taught you.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's really good too. And, we've talked to our schedulers and we say, hey, you're a salesperson, but you get to sell something that's free.
mm,
And so a lot of people that are customer facing and their customer service, they're higher in empathy
mhm.
and they're less of a sales personality. They're there to be agreeable and supportive of the customer's needs. And so it is important to talk to them about clearly winning is selling appointments. And there's a big advantage to being able to sell something that's free. It's easier to
Yeah.
come alongside the customer.
So look, marketing and sales need to be aligned. You can't just set a bunch of crap, right, and
Yep.
give them to us rock star salespeople because we sell
Best
everything.
people on the team, right?
Best people on the team. So, demo percentage has got to be part of it. It would be great if you guys set 1,000,000 leads, but if we can't demo any of them, so you got to have those on there and track that. And obviously you guys are working to fill. We talked about that push and pull and a little bit of that competition between the two of us where I don't want you to catch up to my board. So, but your goal is 90% or better on the capacity. So anything else we need to add on to the team tracking here? I feel like these are pretty good standard ones. It's not overcomplicated. It's easy to follow for the team to look at on a daily basis.
Yeah, we definitely include that conversion rate within the marketing schedulers on at
Mhm.
Powerful, and so I think it's up to the local crew if they think that that's a track that they want to do. I mean, this shows them, and you have to do a little bit of math. We throw it in there as a percentage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's probably one or two here or there that you might swap in or swap out. And again, just depending on what you need to drive within your organization, you might, swap one or two of these things out for yourself for sure. And I know what we'll do. I think Jay, if correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to have some of these scorecards. You can manipulate them too to suit your needs or use them as templates to build out your own. But we'll have a link along with the episode for you to download some of these examples that we have out there. And then the goals that we have in there are just some rough examples of options that could show you what goals or targets could look like. So
Yeah.
you got your team one, you got to have individual ones too. So you don't want an individual necessarily being able to hide inside of good performance, because if the whole team's doing good, but two or three people are not doing great, that means we could be doing significantly better and not having people riding coattails. So if we're looking at an individual performance here, we got a little bit more of a narrow focus, which I think is important. We want to narrow individual reps focus on these are the 2 to 3 buttons that you're pushing and hitting on. So CPH or IPH, that's calls per hour or interactions per hour. Is that right, Jay?
Yep.
And APH, just so for those that aren't aware, that's appointments per hour.
Yeah. Really important to track how busy are you really? And it's such an interesting conversation to have. I've had it with my team members a lot that they're like, "Are you just like micromanaging me?" And I'm like, "No, not at all. I know that there's a lot of opportunities out there, and I want to make sure that you and I both understand that you're actually utilizing and have access to these opportunities."
Yeah. Look, there's the end result that we're trying to get to, similar to our goal setting thing. There's the end result that we're trying to get to, but there's an activity that it requires to get there. And there's a certain amount of activity that we need to get there. So I want to bench press 300 pounds. I need to do this many reps, this many times a week to get there eventually. It doesn't start by doing one rep. Like I need to do multiple reps of this exercise this many times a week, this many months of the year in order to finally reach that goal. It's no different with something like this. I know 35, if we're like picking up the phone and making phone calls, is generally a pretty decent number. It might change if you're like an event marketer and you're talking to somebody face to face, that number changes a little bit. But 35, if you're, calling or interacting with somebody online as well too, is probably a safe number to think about.
Yeah. And it does get more complicated when you move over to chat systems like Facebook Messenger, or if you're using TikTok or Instagram or any of those.
Mhm.
I know that those can be really filled with a lot of misclicks or tire kickers that don't go anywhere. And so for us, that number is significantly higher than 35 when you add Facebook Messenger conversations. So it's something to
Sure.
pay attention to with your team.
Yeah, and again, some of the people we're taking through this program, we help build that goal out by taking a look
Yep.
at all of the programs that they have and taking a look at some of their top performers and saying this is where they fall on average and this is the result they get out of it. And if we're going to continue to drive performance and success, this is what the average should be and this is what the goal should be. Always kind of two numbers, minimum standard and goal standard, right? And so appointments per hour, you're going to have two is what we have in here. Some people might have more, some people have less. Again, depends on the mix and the exact execution that that particular rep is working through. Maybe an event marketer might have something different than a inside marketer, but you got to have something that you're setting per hour, right? Again, that smaller victory within the full day, I think is huge.
Yeah. And it's a good number to track too, because we know that throughout the week, usually Mondays are busy. A lot of leads came in. So Monday, those numbers are going to be higher. Thursday, Friday, things start slowing down. And when they have a number like this in front of them on the slower days, they can still be paying attention to where did my opportunities go? And do I have a rehash plan in place to go find people that didn't call in today or fill out a form today so that I can make sure I'm staying on top of what my goals are?
Yeah. So my sales, brethren are okay with me here talking so much marketing demo rate, set good stuff, make sure it gets to a rep and make sure that it is
Mhm.
demoable. Right. And again,
Yeah.
I will applaud you guys are powerful. It is a topic on every conversation that I'm a part of on the marketing side of our business. Did we set enough leads that ended up in the right spot with the right results of an opportunity that was demoed and presented an opportunity that could have been sold if things had lined up the right way for the rep at that point. So always an eye on setting appointments with quality in mind as well too is important. Good stuff. Can we be done talking about marketing at this point?
Oh, no, no, no. I have so much more to say about this.
I'm going to cut.
I will say the weekly and monthly, we do our weekly scoreboard as a team. We do the individual stuff where they have access to this stuff, where they can go in and check date range. And so they can go in and look at it on their own anytime they want. But then we go over it as a team every week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing. They should have access to look at it and see their trends. I think the more access they can have to their numbers, the more curious, again, to use a powerful value there. I think that that's an extremely important thing. How great is it when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I was looking at my numbers and I noticed a trend with this one going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions?" But it's like a proud papa moment at that point. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I hadn't even noticed that. Let me think about it for an afternoon and I'll see what I can get for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Thank God. All right,
Mhm.
here we go. Sales stuff. So daily scorecard, right, for your sales team, and then a monthly leaderboard. A little bit different here. So sales reps have to result their appointments every single day. If you don't have them resulting their appointments every single day, um, you're missing very important data that you need. So I'm
Mhm.
going to start there by telling you they need to result as soon as they're done with their appointments. That gives marketing really critical data as to what happened with them. If there's adjustments that need to be made with lead sources, they have real information that need to be made. And you as a leader can decide to hit that panic button that we talked about with flash sale is in place starting tomorrow, what have you. But you need that data right away. So have them results. They have a daily reminder, did I sell or not with that?
Yeah.
We talked in our last week's episode about having your managers send you a text potentially with here was our daily results. This was the text that I had them send me. So, how many
Mhm.
appointments did we run? How many did we demo? What was our demo percentage? How many did we sell? Close percentage? What was the volume? And what was our NSLI? Now, I will tell you, I gave them a spreadsheet. So they just plug the number in and screenshot it and send it to me. Super easy. We were all in the
Yeah.
same group. So I had two managers. So everybody
Mhm.
saw each other's team's results. So again, competing with each other. And it was funny because they were like, I kicked your ass today, kind of thing,
Yep.
which was great. I
Yep.
was like, yeah, yeah, you did. And I would
Yep.
send a side text. You're not going to let them do that tomorrow, are you? It
Right.
was funny. So they know what the daily goal is each month, right? So I would go in and adjust based off of our goals for the month. This is what this should look like, right? So, based off of our capacity, this is how many on average we should be running and, demoing and so on and so forth. But again, what does a win look like each and every day? And like we talked about this in with marketing as well too. It's the start of the numbers. And if they
Mhm.
see a bad day, then they go dig into the results and see who it is that needs a hug or a kick in the butt, kind of thing.
Mhm.
The monthly leaderboard, very similar to your marketing team, we're going to show names and results. So it's a little off here actually because we're still on and forgive me guys, because I think we have a little bit of a miss here, but this is our marketing leaderboard, and
Yep.
our sales leaderboard would look very similar to this as well too, but we would have appointments run, appointments sold, close rate, volume, and NSLI. And what we would be
Yep.
doing here is we'd be ranking them, and I do it a little bit differently maybe than some. There's
Mhm.
two numbers in my opinion that you can rank them on as far as performance goes. One is NSLI, the other is close rate. I don't necessarily think that there's a wrong answer to this one. I just personally prefer close rate. The pushback that I get on that is NSLI is probably a more true version of efficiency and success. Do you sell often and do you sell bigger jobs? The only pushback I'll give on that is that sometimes I can't control how big the job can be. And I want my guys focused on selling everything possible in front of them. So
Yep.
whether you sold or not means you are a closer or you're not. So that was
Mhm.
my barometer. And what I know is if you sell more often, NSLI generally takes care of itself. Right. So what
Yep.
we would rank is again, looking at this, Ann Jones all the way down to the Saved by the Bell gang down there at the bottom would be ranked from, my 50% closer down to my person closing, in the teens. And tiebreaker would be NSLI after that.
Sure.
Right. Now that monthly leaderboard, that's right there when they log into their system. It's posted at every single sales meeting. It's posted on the board. It's updated every single day. So they know exactly where they are compared to their peers. And just like we talked about earlier, Jay, they have the opportunity. C. Slater here has the opportunity to go to Ann Jones, say, Ann, I'm struggling. I would really love to go on a ride along with you and see what it is that you're doing differently than I'm doing because I need some mojo. And it might just be that they need to, rub elbows with that person, go grab a cup of coffee, and they're back off to
Mhm.
the races.
Put on their jacket. AC
Yeah,
Slater needs to put on his jacket from the month that he did win.
that's
Get
right,
his
man.
head back in the
That-
game.
yeah, flip the chair around with the jacket on, and
Mhm.
saddle up to the table, right? What was it at the max, right?
Yeah.
Do a lunch at the max. So anything here, Jay, that I didn't cover that I need to cover?
No, I think a couple of things to point out is it doesn't have to be complicated. I know some business owners or leaders that see numbers like this start to get overwhelmed with that's a lot of open cells or that's a lot of numbers to track. And I know there's a lot of tools already like CRMs that are going to track this stuff
Mhm.
for you and you get to just print a report. And then the other thing that's really powerful here is you get to be a noticer and you get to just go, oh, it's going this direction or that direction. It's hard to have conversations with dealers that say, I don't know what happened.
Right.
You should know what happened. You should have
Mhm.
seen it coming 2 weeks ago. And so these sales and marketing scorecards are just really important, and they set your mind at ease and they set you up to have really great, meaningful conversations with your team members.
100%. Yeah, no doubt about that. And I think that there's just opportunity to catch people before they slip between the cracks. I intentionally use the word people, not problems, not issues. Those are real. I mean, these are fake people. Well, they're not fake people. They're real characters from shows, but
Yeah.
the real people that are on your boards. And again, to your point, your CRM probably does a lot of these things already. And a spreadsheet's pretty easy to build and plug in. Like I said, we'll have a download for you you can use that makes it pretty easy to plug 2 or 3 of these numbers in and spits the rest out for you too. Yep. So we got great scorecards. The numbers are in front of them. They know where they are in comparison to the standard and to their peers. So they know what success looks like, and they also know who is being successful. You gotta talk to them and coach them and make sure they know we're here for them, right? So,
Yeah.
how often should you check in? And I guess what does a check in look like? Jay, you and I were talking about this beforehand. There are, I think, three different types of interactions with our people as a owner or a leader of our business. There's the rep or like the doer meetings, and there's probably two there, which is the informal and the formal. And then there's our leadership type interactions or meetings that we have there. So let's start with the informal ones or the rep level ones, those informal versus formal. What do you think is critical about the informal ones there?
The bullet points here should feel unplanned. I got to say, on my team, we use WhatsApp, and I love to surprise them and just drop in and say, hey, how's it going? And it's strategic, but for them, it feels more relational and it feels more curious. And I just think it's great to do because you have an opportunity to just check in.
Yeah. I think that's the right thing. Depending on the size of your team, 1 to 2 times a week. There's no real agenda to it. It's just says, hey,
Yep.
what do you need? Anything going on? And notice this the other day, everything good, that kind of thing. It just you're right there. It should be planned that today I'm gonna check in on so and so, but not every Tuesday at 10 I call so because then they go, oh, it's the regular call from Jay. Oh, it's the regular call from Fitz, whatever it is, right? Going to the formal side of it, I think that's a little bit different though. That formal one-on-one. I think that is something that, hey, the first Tuesday of every month, Jay, you and I will sit down at 10 o'clock. This is a standing meeting every time. And I don't think that one should move. That one is set in stone. And you heard me say this before, Jay. If you find yourself moving that a lot, here's a really big wake up call for you. You're not moving a meeting. You're moving a person
Yep.
who has been planning and looking forward to the opportunity to sit down one on one, uninterrupted with their leader, their boss, with a chance to tell you they need help with something, vent about something, just have uninterrupted time with the person they rely on to provide for their family. Puts a different perspective on moving that because you need to go take care of something else, right?
Yeah.
That needs to take a lot of priority. As far as the structure of that meeting, Jay, what's important about the structure of that meeting?
Yeah, I think it's important to be the one that leads it as the owner, the manager, the one in charge. You need to have a purpose, and it is a specific time dialed in to catch up with them in a real practical way of what does winning look like? Are you winning? Let's talk about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. So I couldn't agree more. You are the leader of it. You take charge of it. There's a regular formula. We're going to review this every time. I'm going to show you this. You're going to show me what you have, and we're going to set an action plan for the following month. This is what we're working on. This is how we're going to work on it. And at about the halfway point, we're going to check in on it and see how it's going. Right. And we walk away with a very clear picture of 1 to 2 things that we're working on and how we're going to get better at whatever it is we need to get better at. Sometimes it might be, hey, everything's working great. Let's keep doing that. And we're still going to
Yeah.
check in on it. But again, a
Yeah.
regular cadence on it.
And I'm going to touch on, the importance of the regular cadence. If you find yourself moving the meetings, get really curious about why. Is it you're working in the business too much and you don't feel like you can carve away time for your people? I got to be honest. I've had employees, I moved the meeting because I didn't want to talk to them. Is this a personal issue? As the leader, do you have somebody on your team that you're struggling to connect with or struggling to communicate with effectively? And so pay attention to, do I enjoy these? And you don't have to love them. Like I get it. Who loves meetings? Like, let's be honest. But you have to make sure you're paying attention to, well, I moved their meeting 2 months in a row. Now it's a
Mm.
problem. What am I doing
Yep.
wrong?
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a really big deal. If you're avoiding somebody, it's not the right fit at that point for sure too, right? Or there's something that you got to really take a look in the mirror on and figure out how do I get over this and make it a better fit for this person too. So great point. Leadership meetings, talking about those type of meetings or team meetings. Again, I think that those are set same time every week in a very similar kind of cadence. We're talking about running with the team, your sales team, your marketing team. Biggest mistakes I see there is a manager, marketing manager, sales manager. They show up unplanned, unprepared, and they're just winging it. Your team sniffs that out in a heartbeat. It's a waste of their time because you didn't see it as valuable. A little bit of housekeeping, review your numbers, and then some sort of training. If there is value in that meeting, it's about making sure the team got better as a result of showing up and taking time away from production, away from them making money in most cases, right? So that they could learn something that was going to make them better, more prepared for the next appointment, phone call, whatever it is. So it's a training opportunity, is really what those meetings should be about. Sometimes it's like, hey, we need to train how to take pictures better. We need to train how to input the information better. That's fine. But a lot of it needs to be about how do we set the next appointment better? How do we sell the next appointment better? How do we install the next job better? Right. And that should be, if you got an hour and a half meeting, 45 minutes to an hour of it should be that. Not somebody rambling on about, things that they, yeah, and this. Oh, yeah, and this. Oh, yeah, and that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think the meetings can actually be similar to we've discussed in the past about scheduling seasonal marketing calendar. Schedule 12 months of meetings. Managers and leaders can be so busy. I can't devote 2 or 3 hours to preparing this meeting. And
Mhm.
so if I set down, 2025, I set down and plan the 12 months for 2026. You then create a system that's repeatable and
Mhm.
you go over the same stuff at a set cadence. So you make sure everybody hears it at the right time. And then those meetings they can be run pretty smoothly.
Super easy. Leadership meetings. I know that there's probably about half of our audience that has an actual, full built out leadership team. And maybe there's still others that have some, like a sales manager or marketing manager, what have you. You should be getting together on a regular basis with them as well, too. There should be a dedicated time for them. There needs to be a lot of structure to that. Otherwise, it can become a very hectic or a very long winded meeting that's not necessary. We've talked about that as well. And so my recommendation, you do that early in the week. I never liked Mondays. Tuesdays, I felt like was a good day because you get the week started, you get all the things that piled up on Saturday or Sunday out of the way. They get off and running. Tuesday's a good day. Each leader, marketing, sales, production, they have a couple of key metrics they report out to the group that impact everybody else around them, the good, the bad, the ugly. Then they report out, this is what we identified as to why some of those didn't go the way they were supposed to go. Here's the plan we have to make them go better. And if there's one or two things they need from the other people, talking about 5, 10 minutes max from each person. And then it's on to the next thing. And then the owner or the leader of the organization summarizes kind of big picture. Here's what we got. This is what our plan is. Here's where we're making progress towards the goal for the month. Anything anybody needs from me, boom, on to the next thing. Now, I know one of the things that we talked about was that last kind of touch point on the week, because having a second touch point, I think, is a good thing. I like to do a 15-minute, virtual huddle. You like kind of the email communication. Talk to me a little bit
Yep.
about that, Jay.
Yeah, you have your leadership team, and we talked about this in a previous episode too, where you need them to confirm to you that they have their eye on the prize. And marketing it feels like there's a slower rhythm to it. And so we might not be able to jump in and have this meeting where we can exact any meaningful change at the end of the week. It might be adjust a budget or adjust a creative. But so I just ask my account managers to shoot me an email at the end of the week that addresses wins, addresses opportunities, and then gives them an opportunity to throw in any notes about the week, maybe something they need from me or something else that they're working on the side for the company. And the email works great. Yeah.
I think you can do it in both ways, right? It's whatever works well for you and your team. But this is a little opportunity, like you said, celebrate a win or two. I got one or two loose ends that I need help closing out before the day's over, or just to make somebody aware of that, I'll need help with it first thing Monday morning as well, too. So it's just one last thing to make sure that everybody's connected and on the same sheet of music. So it's a great way to tie it all up at the end of a week. So Tuesday, early in the week, whatever it might be, that's your more formal meeting. And then one more touch base so we make sure we're all connected more than one time. There's a lot that goes on in a business and a lot of things, a lot of fires popping up throughout the week that we all need to make sure that we're at least aware of and that I know you're working on it kind of thing. So good stuff. Pretty good information here, Jay. I feel like we covered a lot this week and we're through 5 weeks at this point, brother.
Yeah, we covered a lot, and we're talking a lot about a word that keeps coming up, and it was shared in that last slide is just creating a consistent cadence. I think that a lot of this stuff is setting our listeners up to put systems in place to show up regularly in a consistent way, and that makes all the difference. You can't just lose sight of stuff. We talked earlier about managers or owners that be like, "My gut tells me." It's like, don't let your gut tell you anything unless your gut is based on real data. So
Right.
yeah, we covered exploring how to create frequent visible wins for your team through daily, weekly, and monthly targets. Important to set those up. I know we touched on depending on the size of your organization, there's obviously some freedom to create the system that works for you. We built marketing and sales scorecards to track what matters. If you're using your CRM to print out these reports, or if you've got your own custom dashboard built, or got a marker board in the meeting room where you refresh the marker
Yep.
board or whatever it is so that you can put this information in front of your team. That's important. And we discussed the cadence of these check-ins. It is important to set aside informal meetings where you get to just be relational. How are you doing? What are you working on? How can I help? Hey, I noticed this thing. Do you have a couple minutes to chat about it? And then the more strategic ones, the one-on-ones, the team meetings, the leadership huddles, where there's a clear goal
Mhm.
that's we're going to cover some specific things here and make sure everybody knows what's going on. Super important there. So homework,
100%.
your homework, should you choose it. Set up these daily, weekly, and monthly targets. Sit down, take some time, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to write these out, get some clarity on that. Build your scorecards or your leaderboards, figure out where it works for you. I know here in our shop in Rochester, they really enjoy Voxer. It's a voice walkie-talkie app that also includes images and other things that you can upload, screen grab, stuff like that. Pick the platform, pick the scorecard, and then pre-schedule these one-on-ones that we've actually been talking about for a couple of these meetings and
Mhm.
get that schedule, especially, preferably even by the end of the year. So what's coming up next week, Fitz?
We're wrapping up the mini series here. Last episode, episode 6, monitoring and adjusting, right? So we've got everything in place. We've handed over the keys to the car. Your job as an owner is to make sure everybody's doing their part, watching the numbers, listening to the feedback, and making decisions when to pull back or push forward. So, giving you kind of the decision making processes on how and when to do those things and when to trust your people to push through hard times and then also give them the support to let's take a little off your plate and allow you to focus on some other things at this point as well too. So I will set some of those things up and set you off into the world, a free bird on the path to success.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Well, I will wrap us up this week, Jay. We appreciate everybody who does tune in. And if you haven't already, hit the bell, like and subscribe. It goes a long way, means the world to us. We enjoy doing these and enjoy the feedback that everybody gives that has given it. Hopefully it's been helpful. We enjoy having you guys around. And Jay, until next time, sir.
Yep. Until next time, go win
We'll
the
see you
day.
guys next. Happy hunting.